It's a great honor to be here with you. I'm David Siegel, the president of Friends of Elnet from the United States. After that very uplifting message, thank you very much, Minister Ashkenazi. It's good to hear, and it's a very important message for all of us. But we're going to discuss some of the complications on the world scene that are coming at us. And I always think of a quote that was attributed to Lenin, that there are decades where nothing happens, and then there are weeks where decades happen. And last week was one of those weeks, but I think we've had some other weeks like that over the last 3-4 months since the new administration in Washington came in. And we don't have to go through the whole litany, I hope you heard that. We don't have to go through the whole litany of the surprising events that took place in agreement with the Houthis, sort of not fully in coordination with Israel, a sudden meeting with the Syrian leader and lifting of sanctions, and rapid decision-making that is so quick that there's no American president in history that took decisions so quick and so rapid in a way that is leaving all of us with a sense of vertigo. So this session will be about how to understand all of this as we move forward. And I want to, with your permission, introduce the panel very quickly. To my right is a very esteemed Dr. Ebstam Al-Kedbi, who has been with Elnet, many programs in previous years. Dr. Al-Kedbi is the president and founder of the Emirate Policy Center, leading think tank in the UAE. She's a professor of political science at the United Arab Emirates University, and in recognition of her contribution in her country, she was appointed in 2015 as a member of the Consultative Commission of the Gulf Cooperation Council, the GCC. To her right is MEP de la Parte from Spain, who is also a prominent member of the European Parliament. He's a seasoned diplomat with an extensive background in international relations and defense policy. He was Spain's permanent representative to NATO, and probably most relevant for us today, he is a major decision maker in the European Parliament on European defense policy moving forward. Last but not least is Zohar Palti, who you've just experienced. Zohar joined Elnet this year, and we're very, very excited to have you with us, Zohar, as the chair of Elnet's Forum of Strategic Dialogue. So all of our discussions in Europe take place under your leadership. He's a former head of the Political Military Bureau in the Ministry of Defense in Israel, which means he was responsible for Israel's military and strategic relations with major allies of Israel in the world. And before that, he was the director of intelligence in the Mossad, the head of counter-terrorism in the Mossad, and many years before that in military intelligence. So we have a very significant panel, and we'll go straight to several questions, and we'll try to keep our answers as short as we can. So we'll start with Dr. Al-Kedbi, and this is fascinating to all of us. How did the Emirates perceive President Trump's trip to the Gulf? What were the main goals in your mind? And is the Gulf united, or are there differences between the UAE, Qatar, and Saudi Arabia in terms of what you sought to achieve during this visit?
Thank you, David, and thanks for Elnet for having me with you here for the second time. Forgive me if I'm coughing. I'm a warrior, but I couldn't find the virus. Well, look, first, this visit means, if you compare it with Biden, that he neglected the whole Middle East, and this shows also for the Gulf is that the Gulf is matter. The Gulf is now center of gravity in the Arab world, and yes, you will say that because it's rich. No, it's not because it's rich. Yeah, it's rich, but because now everything is happening in the region has to come to the Gulf. For UAE itself, it's strategically, of course, always the Gulf is allying with the Republican. But this is, since 28 years, this is the second visit for American president coming to UAE, so it's recognition also. But also, it tell that UAE also matter in the Gulf. If you remember, it's only 3 countries Trump visited. Economically, of course, there you see how many deals has been done between us and US, but mostly that we will be the center for semiconductor in the region. This means a big recognition for UAE's hub for AI. And it shows also how UAE, if you look to other, I will bring all the questions together, so I will not take much of your time. If you look to Saudi, you look to Qatar, main is arms and defense. For UAE, AI is the main. And here shows also UAE started very early working on AI. And it shows also that it is fast mover in the region, fast mover in diplomacy as well. Maybe it's the first country signed Abrahamic Accord with Israel, believing in that, paving the way before that, and creating many initiatives under religious diplomacy. So for Saudi, it was, of course, if you remember that, Biden called them pariah, and he refused to recognize them even. For them, it's a win. It's really a win. That's why also how they hosted Trump himself. The Qatari, for them, you remember Trump, he said Qatar is the defender of terrorism, if you remember his first visit. So also for them, it's a recognition. Should I talk about their differences, or we will make it in another round?
Maybe one more sentence on that, on the differences between the three.
Look, the Saudi were more looking for more arms. They were looking for Japan defense position as ally for US, but they couldn't get it. They got a lot of deals on arms, but this is also will depends on the Congress. We don't know how the Democrat will act regarding that. Also regarding the Abrahamic Accord, there is misunderstanding in the West. The Saudi, they don't want to sign Abrahamic Accord. They want to normalize, and that normalization should be conditioned with two-state solution. Especially now after Gaza, they were about to normalize with Israel, but after Gaza, that condition has been put and make it not easy for them. Maybe if things changed in Gaza, they will sign, but not Abrahamic Accord. They will sign a normalization treaty, but that will be conditioned that in a path to create a two-state solution. For the Qatari, recognize them as a mediator in the region, especially now in Gaza war with Hamas. This is how the American, they need a mediator who can deal with non-state actors, which Qatari they used to do before.
Well, thank you for that, and we'll follow up on that in a moment. I want to move on to MEP de la Parte. You know, it was striking that Israel wasn't part of the visit, but nor was Europe. We didn't see European companies, we didn't see Israeli companies, we saw lots of American multinational technology companies, as Dr. Al-Kiba mentioned. How does Europe see the trip, and maybe broader than that, how does it see the Trump presidency or even America today as a factor in European security? Can Europe really rely on the United States to protect the continent vis-a-vis Russia, China, and the threats of the future, given everything that we've seen? Sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much to Elnet for inviting me this evening. It's a pleasure and an honor to be with you, and thank you very much, David, for your question. It's very pertinent. I think that in Europe, in general, we are, as everybody, watching to Washington a little bit puzzled with, as you say, with vertigo at the speed of which the new president and his administration is able to issue executive orders, initiatives, decisions, and all kind of initiatives. I think that we have to wait a little bit until the dust settles down. I think that the first 2 or 3 months of Mr. Trump's presidency are not a reference for the future, and I think that he himself will be able also to focus mainly on the on the main objectives of his presidency. Concerning how do we see now from Europe his trip and his presence in the Middle East, I think that it's not only for Trump. I think that in general, in American, because it is a bipartisan tendency, and for all the elites, economic, political, and social elites, they have decided that the great challenge is China. And then they focus the energy, the treasure, and the strategy on keeping China down or avoid China to overtake the United States and not to become the hegemon of the 21st century. For me, that is a mistake. It's a mistake because China cannot be stopped from outside, from abroad. It's impossible. China will stop itself because of its own contradictions, because of its own shortages and its own false decisions, but not because the states of the Western world we are going to delay the emergence as a big power. The consequences of this concentration of energy and attention of the United States to the Indo-Pacific is that they have lost interest in Europe and in the theater in Europe, and they say, okay, now it is for you Europeans to take care of yourselves and to manage for your own business, and they are right. We have been living in a kind of the dividends of the implosion of the Soviet Union in the summer 1991. We are in Europe. We say, well, there will never be a war in Europe. We confront anymore any kind of existential threat or menace to Europe. Then we disinvest in our armies, disinvest in our defense, and we decided to leave the dividends of peace. Wrong decision, obviously. A war in Ukraine has waken us up in the wrong way, in the most awful way. And now we have to decide what to do with our own defense. We cannot depend entirely on the US as we have done for the last 70 years. We have to be able to create a Europe of defense, not as an alternative to NATO, obviously, but as a complementary pillar, European pillar within NATO. That means that we have to mobilize more financing, to identify the threats and menaces. Second, to identify the shortages and to map out the weaknesses of our defense, and later on to mobilize the money. This is the sequence, the logical sequence, to identify threats, to mobilize resources, and to look for the money. But we cannot do it alone. We need our American friends, not only for now, but for the time being and for the near future. We need our strategic enablers. We don't have them in Europe. We will need in the best possible scenario, it will take us 5 to 10 years to provide ourselves with the strategic enablers we need. For strategic enablers, I mean logistics, intelligence gathering by satellites, long-range and precision artillery, and so on and so forth. And I think that within this framework of instability, of unpredictability from the US on one side, the threat of Russia, on the other, we have to stand up as Europeans. And I think that next round I will assess more the travel of Trump to the Middle East, because otherwise I will talk too much time. Thank you.
No, thank you very much. A lot of food for thought there, and we'll follow up. Zohar, how do we say? It's been an interesting week in U.S.-Israel relations. The columnists have sort of caught on to this new narrative that Israel is not part of the strategic priorities in the Middle East. It's now about Saudi Arabia, even Turkey. Qatar, the President of the United States, is receiving a $400 million flying palace for an Air Force One, and all sorts of other messages that you hear, and Israelis are concerned. The question is, where do you see the challenges now and the opportunities for Israel as a result of what we're seeing?
Well, it's a tough one because we are spoiled and we're used to get the best out of the Americans. And it's okay from time to time to give some attention to the others. And if it's coming to the Gulf, our friends, so it's always good. But I will say something like that. I think that General Ashkenazi just mentioned it before. The main pillar in our national defense strategy, relying on our friendship with the Americans. And the friendship with Americans is, first of all, to be bipartisan with both of the parties. Some of us forgot it in the last couple of years. And the most important, I think, important thing is to restore some of our relationship with one parts of the American, mainly the Democrats, and this is something essential, to do it and to do it fast. Secondly, because we need at the end of the day, the State of Israel, 450 hands in the House of Representatives and 95 fingers in the Senate. We're on the verge of the MOU. We need the Americans in 1.5 years from now for the new MOU for another 10 years. That's mean $3.3 billion a year for platforms, American platforms. Israel is the only country that is relying on the Americans' weapon system. We're not flipping with no one else. And this is crucial and vital. Now, there is also hiccups regarding this issue. We'll have to figure out what's going on regarding this issue. We have to understand that we, after 19 months of a war, you can see the liability on our reserves. We need to decide when we are a bit relaxing, doing a pause, regathering, check and balances before we're starting to the next challenges that we have, and we have. We spoke before about Iran. We still have the Houthis that are launching like every couple of nights, like yesterday night, ballistic missiles or cruise missiles to the center of Israel. We have some obligation to our European friends that we need to see that our industry is manufacturing and giving what we sign contracts to give to our European friends and to our Gulf friends and other countries in the world exactly what we obligated to give them. That means that we can't all the time think about today and tomorrow. We have to think about 5 years and 10 years from now. And if I'm combining the answer to your question, we need to improve and significantly regarding AI. Israel used to lead the issue of cyber in the world. I can't say it right now regarding the AI. And we have a good excuse. October 7 and what's going on. The government should invest a lot of money in AI. We have the young generation in Israel, and we are not doing enough regarding this issue. AI is going to be the most profound and meaningful revolution that we ever had. Our friends, the Emiratis, for example, Ibtisam just spoke about it, understand where is the juice right now, investing billions. We are not doing good right now. And if I'm trying right now to draw where we have, first of all, we need to relax a bit, to try to wrap it up, all the challenges of the 19 months. First and foremost, to bring our people back home. This is essential to do it now. And after that, to regather, we are strong enough to deal with Gaza if we need it. Later on, the fact that we blew it completely at the night between October 6 and 7 doesn't mean that we're going to do it again. I think that we learned the lesson and we know how to deal with Gaza, and a bit to see what we will face in the next few days, weeks, whether the Americans are going to sign a deal with the Iranians or whether we'll have to be in the game. This is the main challenges right now.
Thank you, Zara. I'm going to go back to MEP de la Parte. You know, ELNET really is primed. The mission, you know, if I had to summarize it in one sentence, is to build a strategic bridge to Europe. Israel needs Europe, Europe needs Israel. In an era where there's uncertainty, lack of trust, going all sides, Israel, United States, Middle East, Israel, Europe, Europe, Israel. Where do you see the future role of Israel in Europe's defense and Europe, its role in stabilizing the Middle East and in securing Israel?
Thank you, David. I think that, first of all, let me tell you that the Americans and Europeans as well, but Americans mainly, they have a great advantage, comparative advantage vis-a-vis the Russians and the Chinese. The Americans have friends across the world. They have not only allies, but friends, more than 100 military bases, but it's not the important thing. The important thing is that we share the same principles and convictions, and that make us strong in NATO and in transatlantic link, also with Israel. Neither China nor Russia have this network of friends. If you look around Russia, all the neighbors are either coerced, they are vassals, or they are terrorized to be invaded by Russia. It's the same with China. The more China is emerging, the more the neighboring countries are asking for the United States to be military present there, whether it is South Korea or Japan or Australia or the Philippines. They prefer the American military presence there than the Chinese presence. That is a great advantage for the American. They should not lose at all. Why I do this introduction, David? Because I think that there is where we have to insert the European, Israeli, and American link. We are the Western world. We share the same convictions. The Israelis have friends a lot in Europe, more than you think. You are not alone, as said our friend at the beginning of this event. Not only you are not alone, you have a lot of friends, and the best friends, perhaps, you have them in Europe. And the importance of the contribution of Israel to the security of the Western, not only of us, Israel, is huge. You are our ally, you are our bulwark, you are our avant-garde in the Middle East and the Eastern Mediterranean of the Western values. You are part of the West world, and we have to reinforce, to strengthen our link, not only with words, but with facts. We have to exchange technology to build up the trust that we have lost perhaps in the last years. We have to recognize that. We have been hit by many misunderstandings from Washington, from Israel, and from Europe. We have to rebuild the base of trust and confidence upon which we can reinforce our relationship. Israel has a paramount role to play in this link, because you are the democratic country in the Middle East, the only one. You share our principles. You can rely on you, and you can rely on us. Then start exchanging technology, military operations, and also information is very important. And above all, let's recover the trust that sometimes we have lost in the last time.
Thank you. Zara, did you want to respond to that or add something to that?
The last 1.5 years was a milestone in combats. It seems to me that the Europeans have been with us, mainly the French and the Brits, in the night of April 13-14, when we defended the state of Israel, when the Iranian attacked with 300 what we call air breathers. That's mean UAVs, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles. It was a milestone because then you saw, really, the world saw what, first of all, the Americans have the ability to do. And over here for the audience, I would like to share with you that what the Americans have done, they shut down, like in 2 hours, all the aviation movement all over the Middle East. Meaning they called simultaneously to the Egyptians, to the Bahrainis, to the Emiratis, to the Saudis, to the Kuwaitis, to the Omanis, to the Jordanians, to the Iraqis, to the Turks, to the Israeli, to the Americans, of course. No even one commercial flight used to be in the Middle East in an hour from that. That's mean that when the Iranians launched the missiles, in the radars, the Israelis and Americans used to see the bad guys immediately. That was the good guys. with the F-35, the F-16, the F-15, of course the Americans and the Israelis to intercept all this threat. Only the Americans and the Israeli technology have the ability to do it. Whether Europe see it, Europe see it. Whether we sold the Arrow right now to the Germans, we sell the Arrow to the Germans. We have outstanding capabilities with air defense. With the David Sling to Finland right now, we are selling to so many other people, really, stuff that eventually will protect Europe and will protect civilians from the bad guys. I think that Europe and Israel have a lot of ground to work together and to enhance this cooperation.
Yes, thank you, Zohar. Very, very uplifting and important to know all this. Dr. Al-Kedbi, maybe a few words from you about the future of the Abraham Accords, the shared interests that we have in the Middle East, and how do we work with the Europeans to help stabilize this part of the world? Because when we say the Western world, it's not about East or West anymore. It really is about values, and I think we all share the belief that the Abraham Accords are part of this community of values. How do you see the future in the region with Israel, Europe, and your country?
Before answering your question, I have a comment on. I think Israel and Europe misunderstand Trump 2.0. Trump 2.0 is the guy of the deals. If you bring a deals, he's coming to you. And this is the difference between Trump number 1, Trump number 2. That's why the Gulf is also knew that. So there are a lot of deals on the table, so attracted him to come to the Gulf. And that deal, by the way, it was not only going one way, it is also that U.S. investing in I would say mainly in UAE, and these countries also investing in the U.S. economy. Now, regarding Abrahamic Accord, it's Abrahamic Accord for UAE. It's about coexistence. It's about tolerance. It's about interfaith and moderation. You don't find this in the region anymore after Gaza war. A lot of polarization. I'm talking frankly to see. So we have to end that war first. We have to end the Gaza issue, then move forward for regional integration, and to wipe all of those what happened to the region, the brainwashing, and to cut off all those spoilers, are either radicals or state also. I also, the issue of Iran. Well, Zuha, my fear is that in this administration, you don't have those technical experts, okay, in the nuclear issue. And my guess, nothing will happen now. What will happen that the Iranian will take this administration from round to another, until the 4 years finish, because they will not give up. I heard it from them. They will never give up their nuclear capabilities. So it needs, look, it takes two to dance the tango. The Israeli has to do also their homework. If we stuck in Gaza and not doing anything, okay, not moving things in the region. As I said, Saudi, they were about to normalize. That was that talk. What happened put them off. And that was a big loss, what we had. If the Saudi joined also, that will be good, that you can make others enter join the club. Unfortunately, where the spoilers knows what happened. So don't give the spoilers chance to do more damage to that relation we had together to integrate Israel in the region.
Please.
Sorry, if you allow me one note on the nuclear, I agree entirely with you. We have to avoid at any price that Iran holds the nuclear weapon. This is clear for all of us. It is the main objective, the main strategic objective, not only for Israel, but also for Europe and the US. But one of the worst consequences of the crisis and the war in Ukraine is that we will see in the near future, most likely, a race for the nuclear weapon for many countries. Remember that when the Soviet Union imploded in December 1981, there were three countries with hold the nuclear. Was the new Russian Federation, Kazakhstan, and Ukraine. Ukraine signed a memorandum of understanding in 1994 in Budapest, together with Russia and with the United States, to renounce to the nuclear weapon and to deliver it back to Russia, with the guarantee from Russia and the United States that the independence will be guaranteed, the internationally recognized frontiers, and the territorial integrity. Well, what has happened that one of the signing countries, Russia, ignored this treaty, violated, and marched into Ukraine. This treaty was later on signed also by UK and France. The lessons for many autocrats out there that they are drawing from the conflict in Ukraine is, first, if you have a nuclear weapon, never give it back, never. And second, if you don't have it, get it as soon as possible in order to avoid any invasion from your neighbor. That will mean a great race for nuclear weapon in Turkey, in Saudi Arabia, in Japan. Now here in Europe, the debate is open, in Germany, in Poland. Europe has to provide itself with the nuclear weapon in order to deter Putin's. I mean, we have to be very careful and not to put in the same sack.
Thank you. And this is the number one reason why we need to stop the Iranian nuclear program in the Middle East. I want to thank our panelists and thank our audience for being here. Thank you very much. I feel better. Inshallah.